It's time to sit back and check out the RCWR show with Lee Sanders. Get fun, in-depth coverage and analysis from the latest in professional wrestling in AEW, WWE, NWA, Impact Wrestling, or the world of entertainment. From hit TV shows to your favorite sports like the NBA or NFL. All things music, movies, and beyond, while trying to make sense of this crazy world we live in. All while keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive since 2011. And now your host, live from the nation's capital of Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
Pretty babies, covering the latest in wrestling, entertainment, and beyond since 2011. Lee Sanders with you guys for this Monday night of November 4th, 2024. We are on the eve of Election Day here in North America. I really hope you guys have a game plan. For those of you that maybe did not get a chance to go out there and take advantage of early voting week, hopefully you got a game plan for Tuesday, Super Tuesday, Election Day Tuesday. And yeah, I don't care who you vote for, just let your voice be heard. That's the most important thing. Get out there and definitely vote. How was you all's weekend? I hope it was pretty solid. I hope you guys, especially for those of you parents out there, and maybe you had to take the kids trick-or-treating, hopefully everything had went pretty good. Here in the Sanders household, it was nice and quiet. True story, me and the wife, a couple of weeks ago, we were plotting and just toying with the idea of giving out candy. Pretty much just get a couple of chairs, camp out in front of our home because we own our own home. We were going to camp out just like some of our other neighbors and see what kind of cool costumes was going to come our way and everything. And pretty much a couple of days before Halloween had hit, my wife was like, "Oh, you know what? I work on Halloween." I'm like, "Are you serious?" She goes, "Yeah." I'm like, okay, well, it looks like Halloween is going to be happening next year on a Friday. Maybe we can kind of plot something together then. She's like, yeah, we could do something. Yeah, for sure. So I was looking forward to seeing some of the costumes that some of the folks wearing and everything, see what's trending, what's basically got people talking and all that. But yeah, didn't get a chance. I did not see anybody in my neighborhood, at least, nor was I looking for costumes for that matter. It was relatively pretty low key, very chill. Not to mention, we don't decorate our house with Halloween decors. So you know how that goes. If you don't dress your home up, trick-or-treaters already know. Yeah, now they ain't celebrating, leave them alone. But you'd be surprised. There's been a few little occasional, knock on the door here and there. We didn't get nothing this year, though, as far as I know. But I kicked back pretty much 3 days worth. 3 days worth watching Halloween movies. I went through the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. I went through Friday the 13th. What else? I did some Halloween. I think I saw all the Halloween movies except for the latest two that's out right now. I did not get a chance where Jamie Lee Curtis returns. I did not get a chance to check those out. Hey, what did you guys think about tonight's WWE RAW? Sound off. I do have a poll up on X, formerly known as Twitter. Hit it up at the RCWR show. We also got a poll up on youtube.com/the RCWR show. Click on communities tab and vote that way. So remember, for those of you that had joined me for the Crown Jewel post show over the weekend, we found out altogether that Raw was going to be pre-taped. And where I couldn't quite figure things out was if Raw ended up being recorded immediately after Crown Jewel went off the air, or if it was a case where just maybe before the weekend was out, it was filmed. Because for those of us that watched Raw tonight, we saw the plug for SmackDown where they mentioned that this Friday show was going to be live from Buffalo, New York. So for those of you that were a little bit curious on whether or not SmackDown was going to be happening from Saudi Arabia as well, not the case at all. But man, we got some very interesting developments definitely going towards Survivor Series, but we also got some developments as far as on the road to WrestleMania goes. We don't need to get all nitty gritty with Raw tonight because it was one of those episodes where honestly I would say if you didn't get a chance to watch it tonight, maybe you have it on the DVR. You can honestly take your time. Only a couple of interesting little developments went down for tonight's show as far as matches goes. Look, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I think many of my friends and colleagues in the podcasting world will definitely agree that as far as the match of the night goes for Raw, believe it or not, when I say this, you're going to be like, wait, what? And I would definitely encourage you guys to go out of your way and check it out. But the match of the night honors goes to Chad Gable and Dragon Lee. That actually was a damn good match. That match alone was worth sitting through what was honestly a semi mediocre edition of Raw this week when it was all said and done. But that match, just the right amount of time was put on it. Some people may nitpick a little bit and go, you know what, didn't really appreciate the overlapping of interference towards the end. But I thought it was just the right touch given the circumstances and everything, especially if you're toying with the idea of LWO and American made. If you're toying around with that idea, letting those two stables pretty much go at it for a bit, then I'm actually fine with how things had went down. It wasn't overkill for me as far as the interference, because towards the end, we had Ivy Now that was trying to do her thing. Actually, Zelina Vega, if I remember it right, yeah, now that it's coming back to me, Chad Gable had his feet up on the ropes and he was trying to get the victory over Dragon Lee that way. Zelina Vega pushed his feet off the ropes. This pretty much prompted Ivy Now to come up from behind her, had her in that rear naked submission hold that she likes to slap on people from behind. And she was just putting some serious torque on that bad boy. Rey Mysterio comes out there. Ivy Now ended up letting it go. If there was ever a time where I wanted to see Ivy Now go, no, what's up to another guy, I felt, well, wait a minute, Rey Mysterio. Come on, like the sizes, the builds, it matches up pretty good. Why would she back away? Like, what the hell? But Ivy Now backed away. And then we saw Chad Gable trading bars with Rey Mysterio there. He actually, at one point, Chad Gable, that is, tried to go for Rey Mysterio's mask. And in the process of all of that, Dragon Lee able to capitalize on that distraction and everything, picking up the win that way. But as far as matches of the night goes, top honors definitely goes to what those guys did, right down to the point. Personally, I would not mind seeing those guys run it back because that's how good that match was. Everything else very mundane. If you've been checking out my show, particularly for an extended period of time, y'all know how I feel about gauntlet matches, especially when it's a case where to open up your show. By the way, I'm in the holiday spirit here. My Christmas story mug. That's how it looks. Sorry for our audio only listeners, but you're more than welcome to check out the webcast stream, represent that way. See my beautiful, handsome face, right? And then here's the other side of my mug. Oh, fudge, right? So I'm definitely in that Christmas spirit mood and everything. That reminds me, we got to we got to decorate the studio a little bit now that the holidays is definitely upon us here. But yeah, we were talking about match of the night. Yeah, Chad Gable, Dragon Lee for sure. That was good. We were talking about bo- uh, battle royale matches, gauntlet matches. Y'all know how I feel about those, especially when it's a case where it's done at the beginning of a program, or it's done to close out a show. For me, it just feels a little tacky, a little lazy. Because it's like, come on, you couldn't do anything else. You couldn't give us something else in between. You just gotta right. And the way we opened it up with tonight's show, it was oh yeah, y'all got the audio for sure. That's what's up. But no, it was one of those cases where yay, we're opening up with a women's battle royale. Okay, like whatever, dude. Look, on the one hand, look, let me not be totally negative, Nelly. On the one hand, okay, this title, right? The women's championship, Liv Morgan, the run that she's been on so far. Like you're just going, okay, all right, cool, whatever. But the fact that it's a royale match, I've never been a fan of those. So forgive me if I don't just yeah. You ain't gonna get that from me on this one here. I'm trying to see if I can find who your participants were for this one. It was a whole there was I ain't never seen so much latex before in my life in one match. There was a lot of latex going on in that bad boy. Your final four, let's just jump right to it. Your final four: Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, Io Sky, Lyra, Valkyria. We saw Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. They interfered and they pretty much ended up costing Bianca and Jade a chance to advance further in this by eliminating them. So I would imagine that all four of those girls, they're still just getting started with their respective feud and everything culminating for a shot at the women's tag titles and all that. So, right, totally fine with how all that had played out. Your final two, it ended up being Lyra Valkyria and Io Sky. Just when you thought maybe Lyra was going to be the one to come out of it with the dub, it actually ended up being Io Sky. So Io Sky is the one that gets a future shot at Liv Morgan's championship. I'm not sure how I feel about that because I'm looking at Lyra Valkyria and I'm going, yo, if anybody, even if it's in a losing effort, if anybody deserves an opportunity to be somewhat put into a little bit of a elevated spot, could definitely use some help, get some type of a rub and everything. I felt Lyra definitely was that woman that should have been in that position. I mean, look, I don't need to go on and on and on and on and on about this. You all got a respected set of eyeballs, especially if you've been checking out NXT for God knows how long. You would definitely agree with me that it's been pretty ice cold for Lyra since she's been on the Raw roster and everything. So Io Sky, look, she's been to the dance before and everything. But for my personal taste, Io Io didn't need this. She didn't need this spotlight. It really should have gone to Lyra, especially if you want to maybe let it be a case where the end game for Lyra, numbers game, it's just too much for her. But at the same time, look at that incorporation that you have with Jade and Bianca. What a great rub off Lyra could have got just off of those two girls alone, and then put Liv, Raquel in there, Dirty Dom, right? Put all of that into the mix. Really would have made it just I say all of this to say this. If Lyra couldn't get the nod to win this match, then man, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, what's going to be happening with this woman? You just can't help but wonder, like, what's up? Is the Lyra Valkyria experiment over? Like, what's going on here? So very, very interesting position that she's in right here and everything. So, meanwhile, War Raiders taking on New Day. War Raiders picking up the W. I don't know who gonna turn at this point. I don't know if it's gonna be Kofi turning on Xavier Woods or if it's going to be Xavier turning on Kofi, but they're definitely looking at each other side-eyed now, and it's all about the blame game. Kofi's doing his best to try to take the high road, but Xavier, he's got his alternate facts. He's got his alternate world of reality, the way things are looking for him. Sami Zayn trying to clear the air, so to speak, in regards to what all had happened at Crown Jewel. By the way, shout out to those of you that had checked out my Crown Jewel post show, whether you represented live or you checked it out on demand. Maybe you showed us some love as soon as you saw the audio version available wherever you get your podcast. Appreciate you guys that went out of your way. Hey, you check that bad boy out. Much love. Sami Zayn letting Jey Uso know and Jimmy know, look, came out there for you, Uso. Sami came out there for Jey. Nothing but love for Jey. He's got nothing but love for the brother. Despite whatever Jimmy thinks or says about him. And he drew his line in the sand, did Zayn, and letting Jey know, I already went through all of this crap once, trying to prove my loyalty and not gonna do it again. No. Forget about it. I'm out on this one. I was trying to be there for you this weekend, but going forward, I'm out. I'm not gonna have anything to do with this. Jey begs to differ. He implored him. He begged Sami to consider popping up on SmackDown so that he, Roman Reigns, and Sami and Jimmy, they can hash all of it out like men in the ring and get on the same page. Jimmy not a fan of that whatsoever, saying he's not family, and Jey letting him know, hey, man, hey, he might not be blood, but he is family. Oh, I don't know about you, but when I heard that line, I got goosebumps, man, because it just reminded me so much of back in the day, my best friends who I love dearly till the day I die. We've been through a lot together, and I tell you what, no matter what, when the chips were down and my back was up against the wall in my darkest hour, you know, my best friends, they were there for me. And, they were, as far as I was concerned, they might not have been blood, but they definitely were family. So that segment in itself tonight, it definitely, I got goosebumps. I got the chills. Just, it was good. Very well produced segment. Sami Zayn was over like a mofo in front of that crowd. Everything that we saw buzz wise coming from Jey Uso with that Crown Jewel event, fans still riding high off of that and everything. Great highlight of the night and everything, and nice way for them to set things up going into SmackDown from Buffalo, New York this Friday. By the way, don't forget to set you all's DVRs. Reminder, NXT, which is going to be happening at the 2300 Arena. So we got Dawn Marie, who's going to be making an appearance. I just saw it. I've been following Dawn Marie on social media off and on for a couple of years now. I know recently she had did a couple of wrestling virtual signings and all that. She looks, dare I say, and some, hey, might not be y'all cup of tea, but people kind of close to my age, if not a little older, can appreciate this, what I'm about to say. But Dawn Marie, she has aged very well. I mean, she is nice and thick, definitely in all the right place. Just how I like my women. I mean, she got a nice little build on her, man. I like what I'm seeing. But anyway, homegirl gonna be on NXT. RVD gonna be on NXT. I would imagine Bully Ray's probably gonna be making a cameo on there as well. So I'm looking forward to checking that out. But remember, NXT, that's going to be going down this Wednesday as because of the whole election and all that for Tuesday. So NXT is going to be going head to head that entire 2 hour block with AEW Dynamite. That should be very, very, very interesting. As far as whether or not I will come on live, I don't know. It's up in the air. There's a big part of me that honestly wants to just kick back and chill for the rest of the week because I've got studying to do for a couple of tests I got to do over the weekend. So I don't know. We'll see how it is. Maybe I'll gauge you all's interest, try to see where you all's heads are at. If you maybe want a Wednesday post show, we'll see. But yeah, keep that in the back of y'all's head. Make sure you got your DVR set and everything. So we got all that. What else went down? I'm trying to just think back. Main event match. I'm well aware. We'll get to the main event match in just a little bit. We saw footage from the Wyatt Six as their latest captive is The Miz. Shout out to Karrion Kross for the great little video that he posted over the weekend looking for Miz. And he happened to be, I don't know if he was at Walmart or what, but he was in the toy section and he finds a Miz figure. And I believe in my heart of hearts, Karrion Kross did not do this. But if he did, that's like, hey, but either way, I just think, I don't think he did if I were a betting man. But he finds the last Miz action figure on the rack. Right. So this kind of plays up to where is Miz? Where did he go? Has anybody seen it? Right. And Karrion's like, there you are. Found you. It's like, okay. But Y6 kidnapping Miz letting them know, hey, it's not me you want. It's Final Testament. You got this all wrong, and I'm sorry for all of this, for all this confusion. But seriously, it's not me you want. It's Final Testament. Well, Dallas, Uncle Howdy, letting them know we were never interested in the Final Testament. We've been interested in you this entire time. So what fun games they will be playing with Miz in the coming weeks is beyond me. All I'm thinking of right now is eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Just think Pulp Fiction. That's all I'm gonna just think Pulp Fiction. Bring out the gimp. That's Miz. I need to see a little bit more fear in the Miz's eyes because that segment kind of came off a little bit comical at times. I don't know if you guys would agree, but the segment definitely came off a little bit too cornball, hokey dokey for me. I just felt Miz was trying too hard. It's like, there's that Marine 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 acting. Yeah. I'm savage tonight. I know. I'll be nicer. Anyway, see what else. I know about the main event. I'm trying to take my time to get to the main event because my God, I like we're practically done talking about Raw. Other than the main event, just trying to think if there was anything else. No, no, no. It's been weird, hasn't it? Doing these shows from the standpoint of this. When you think about that 3 hour format, there was a lot more to talk about, wasn't there? From the Raw shows. But now it's like I'm still struggling, even though Raw is now in a 2 hour format. I am still struggling with wow, we're already done like talking about Raw, and it's not even past 30 minutes into the broadcast, like each time we're talking about it. But I don't think I missed anything else. For those of you that's curious, by the way, still no Drew McIntyre, still no CM Punk. Very curious to see what happens now that Raw and everything is back on US soil, if those guys will be popping up again or what. That should be interesting. But your main event match, it's that time. Sheamus, Damian Priest, Dominik Mysterio, Seth Rollins, Fatal 4-Way, who's going to become the number one contender to take on Gunther for his respected championship. Kind of looked like at one point maybe Dirty Dom was going to get the job done, but wasn't meant to be. This was a no DQ match as well. So as soon as you heard that, you're going, considering how things had ended between Seth Rollins and Big Bronson Reed, surely Bronson Reed's going to be coming out and he's going to be wanting blood. You guessed that right. Bronson Reed did come out, wrecking havoc, left and right. Definitely was the X factor. Definitely denied Seth Rollins that opportunity to win and all that. Him and Sheamus kind of getting into it for a little bit. For everything that all transpired in that one, it seemed as though it was a great pickup on a silver platter there for Dominik Mysterio. I swore that was maybe the direction they were going to be going in, but no, it ended up being Damian Priest delivering the South of Heaven. 1, 2, 3, getting it done there. But I tell you what, that would have been a badass mark out moment if it would have went to Dom Mysterio. Man, it just I could just picture the amount of people that would have been triggered big time if Dom would have picked up the win and everything. And yeah, sure, Gunther obviously would have killed him. Like you just like, come on, like really, like he would have killed him. Okay, but the fact that we're getting the Damian Priest Gunther rematch, all the history that's intertwined there, that's going to be a very fun rematch. I'm looking forward to that one. So a decent main event, but really Dragon Lee and Chad Gable, definitely two of the really best standout matches for the night. Everything else, pretty much mediocre at best. A slightly average edition of Raw for this week. I don't know why, but I feel like I'm missing something from the segment. And y'all got to forgive me. I know I went through everything. It's just going to take me time to get used to these 2-hour formats because WWE is not cramming as much. If you're paying attention, they're not cramming as much. If anything, they're really letting stuff really breathe here. So it's good for us when it's all said and done. Let's see what you guys had to say polling wise. We're just getting started here on the show. We got loads of wrestling news to get into. I'll definitely offer my thoughts on the passing of music producer icon Quincy Jones. Oof, I tell you what. But yeah, we got a nice, fun, loaded up show for you guys. So definitely continue to stick around with your man here. Meantime, let's see what you guys had to say on X at the RCWR show. X formerly known as the Twitter. Let's see what you guys are saying here. All right. So I am seeing 11% of you all felt that Raw was a below average episode, while 22% of you thought it was a terrible show. 67% of you said it was a awesome show. Appreciate those of you that chimed in via X. That went down. Hang on. That went down the wrong pipe for some reason. It happens. Let's go here. All right, let's go to YouTube. You can go to youtube.com/the RCWR show. Click on the post section and you can cast a vote that way. Almost mirror images here. I'm seeing 14% of you said below average episode. 29% of you said terrible show. And 57% of you said it was an awesome show. So very interesting that we have practically a mirror image of our polling here. So if you haven't voted yet, you don't need to spam out on both polls. Just go with go with whichever one you feel like going with. But appreciate everybody that had cast their votes. Hey, our 13th anniversary show is coming up. Can you believe this? I mean, man, we got anniversaries, just a lot of joints going down this month because look at WWE Supercard, for example. On November 13th, they're going to be celebrating their 11th year. Isn't that hard to believe that a mobile game continues to thrive, continues to be successful, continues to bring in X amount of money week in, month out, year in, year out in WWE Supercard? Look, I've got no shame in my game. I will raise my hand and I will say to you guys, I am a whale when it comes to WWE Supercard. Now, I may not drop a whole bunch of buku money on WWE Supercard in a month, like some people, but I am a whale. I take advantage of the battle pass. I take advantage of, hey, double your coins, this week only or this weekend only. I take advantage of little stuff like that. Oh, they got an equipment pack available. Let me go get that bad boy real quick. I take advantage of all that stuff. So I definitely have put out my fair share of coin. Definitely way past the triple digits on that game. And to think that here we are basically 11 years later, coming up on November 13th. I mean, that's just congratulations to everybody involved in the development of that game. That's just awesome to hear because sadly, when you really stop to think about it, if you're a gamer, in this society, right, in this gaming climate that we're in, usually a game, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years is really, really pushing it as far as a shelf life, dedicated server, routine maintenance, and all that. And then after that, everybody's ready to move on to something else. So the fact that this game has continued to go on for double that time, you just can't help but, whether you hate it or, even if you don't play it, you just got you can't help but respect the fact that wow, y'all been able to do this long. Wow, like damn, more power to you. So you got that going on. But yeah, we've got our 13th anniversary show that's going to be coming up. It's funny because as I was saying to the wifey a couple of days ago, I was saying, hey, the 13th anniversary show is coming up. And I was trying to figure out when to celebrate it. And I was thinking about celebrating it the week of Thanksgiving. But she was like, nah, don't do that because a lot of people are probably gonna be heading out of town. So your listenership might be significantly down. If anything, you should do it, the week before Thanksgiving. I'm like, really? You think so? She's like, yeah, do it the week of the 18th. Like that makes more sense. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. We are officially gonna recognize the 13th year of the RCWR show, our 13th anniversary. We're going to officially celebrate it, recognize it. Coming up, let's see here. Today is the 4th. So we're going to officially recognize it on Monday night, the 18th. Monday night, the 18th, after WWE RAW goes off the air, that's where we're going to do that bad boy. So I haven't sat down yet to figure out who all we could potentially get to drop by, say a few words, or maybe just I might even just do a joint where I just hit up a bunch of mofos and go, hey, look, 13th anniversary show. If you want to pop up, do a quick drive by, you can do it. Maybe we can I think we'll definitely have a phone line opened up for those that maybe want to call in, all that good stuff. So mark it down on your calendars. I hope you can join me live. It'll be Monday night, November 18th, 10:05 p.m. Eastern. So after Raw goes off the air on the East Coast, we'll do that bad boy. But yes, we got that. Excuse me. I don't know how it was for you guys earlier today, but when I found out about the passing of Quincy Jones, I didn't find out about it. And I'm glad that my wife, because usually the way I typically find out about people that died, especially people that I messed with, big time, usually my wife is the one that gives me the bad news. And she'll either text me, boy, how about that death, huh? Or she'll go, how about that news, huh? And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, oh, you don't know? It's like, nah, what are you talking about? And I find out from her that way. This was one of those, and she's gotten to a point now where she's kind of like, let me let him find out on his own. Because certain deaths will just mess my head up. Like I remember when I found out the news about Chris Cornell, my head was messed up for like 2 weeks just hearing about his death. It that rocked me so bad, so bad. Speaking of Chris Cornell, that's actually going to be one of my next tattoos. I'm going to get Soundgarden on my shoulder. I'm gonna get like the logo, get some badass ink done, all up in it and everything. But Quincy Jones, music producer icon, Quincy Jones passed away. It's interesting because when I found out about his passing, I was in class. I was in one of my classes early this morning, and I was browsing, but it didn't really register in my head because I was doing a whole bunch of multitasking. So I remember just at a glance. And then I remember after I was done with my class, I was like, what was going on there with Quincy Jones? Right. It still didn't really register. So I'm sitting in my car and I'm just, enjoying a nice little break, playing some music while I'm just chilling in my car. I'm just waiting for my next class, honestly. So I'm killing time that way. Sure, a lot of college students can relate to that. You're just in your car, just chilling. And that's when I come across the Quincy Jones stuff because I was like, yeah, why was Quincy Jones trending? Like, what was going on there? Then it was like, oh, this is what's going on. Like, oh, damn. Like, okay. Passed away at the age of 91. So that is a nice, long, fruitful life. My God, record producer, conductor, arranger, record executive, songwriter. Shout out to my man Digging the Greats. I've promoted him on this show off and on in the past. I love the hell out of that dude. He did a fantastic clip, the origins of Michael Jackson's PYT, Pretty Young Thing. And the inspiration for that song, this is a Quincy hit. Quincy came up with the song. So what ended up happening, the origins of that song in a nutshell, Quincy Jones was watching his wife walking around. And he was like, oh, look at my PYT, Pretty Young Thing. And he thought about it more. He was like, PYT, Pretty Young Thing. That's a song. And so next thing you know, he tells Michael Jackson, he's like, hey, look, PYT, Pretty Young Thing. There's your next song. Go ahead and do that. So the version that you all hear right now, right? That's not the original version. Where did you come from, baby? And won't you take me down? No, that's not the original joint. That's not the original joint. The original joint, I mean, the lyrics totally different. The beat, the tempo, everything drastically different. As a matter of fact, you can hear it on because they just re-released, what album is PYT on? Let me look that up real quick for you. I could yell for my wife because she's a big Michael Jackson fan. She would definitely know, but I'm not going to do that. So hang on here. Because I think Will I Am had helped do a clean up version of that song. It would be on the Michael Jackson Thriller joint. There, I don't know if it was the 25th anniversary edition or if there was something else that came out, but there's like this big old expanded joint where they basically went into the vault. They gave you some B-sides, some unreleased stuff, so you can hear Michael Jackson's original, like no other producers came after he died and was messing around. You can hear the original version of PYT. and it's a damn good song. I'm recommending my man Digging the Greats on YouTube because he encapsulates the whole journey of the song very beautifully, and you're like in and out. So check that clip out. Just type in PYT Digging the Greats, and you'll know the clip when you come across it. And fun trivia as far as like who co-wrote the song with Quincy and all that. But when you hear Michael's original interpretation of what he thought Quincy wanted, you're going, wow, this didn't make the album. Like when you hear the song, Quincy was like, yeah, no, not quite what I'm looking for. Try something else. And you're like, "Ugh, yeah, what the hell? But man, Quincy Jones, this is a career that expanded just decades upon decades, man. And his fingerprints can be felt over all things film, television, definitely music. Man, I think about when he scored In the Heat of the Night, one of my all-time favorite movies, starring Sidney Poitier, still holds up to this very day, especially considering all the stuff that's going on with, police abusing the badges, abusing their power, all that stuff. I think about when Quincy had scored Sanford and Son. Yeah, not only did he do the theme song, which was with Sanford and Son all the way to the end of the series, but the first 2 seasons he scored episodes for that joint. Shout out if you remember that. Fun little trivia for you guys. Just the first 2 seasons. Did the theme song for Raymond Burr and Ironside. I love, I debate with friends and family about this because I tell them, I say, you know what, for me, I say Ironside is better than Perry Mason. Like, wait, what, dude? Like, what's wrong with you, man? Like, no, like I'm serious. Like, Ironside is better than Perry Mason. Like, why? Like, why would you say that? No, Perry Mason is better. Like, nah, man. Like, and I tell them, I say, really stop and think about this now. Here is a guy that was a decorated police officer. He's kicking back, he's chilling, minding his own goddamn business. Next thing you know, a sniper from the roof puts a bullet into his back. This man should be dead. And yet somehow my man rose like the phoenix, even though he no longer has the use of his legs. My man said, I am still going to do my part in protecting and serving. And I might not have my legs no more, but I still got my intellect. And you know what? If I put the right type of team around me, not only can they be my arms, but they can definitely be my legs as well. And so he builds this whole freaking badass team around him, and the rest is pretty much history. I'm like, nah, man, Ironside, like just the story, the origin alone, like Ironside is better. But Quincy has scored that joint. You think about the soundtrack for The Color Purple. Of course, we just alluded to Michael Jackson. I mean, I think Michael without Quincy, if Quincy would have never, and man, just the whole back and forth there with Quincy and Michael Jackson, that right there, my God, that's an entirely different show in itself because of, okay, who's getting the songwriting credit? Like, it was it Michael or it's like, damn, was it all Tom Brady or was it Bill Belichick? It's kind of one of those type of deals between Michael and Quincy and everything. But when you just think about all the talents besides Michael Jackson that Quincy Jones had a hand in, yeah, this pretty much was a Quincy. I got to give a shout out to my brothers and my sisters out there. But you think about that one album that Quincy Jones had dropped in the 80s that had like the all-star who's who on that joint with the lead single or hit single Secret Garden. Yeah, Barry White on that joint. Oh God, once, twice, Howard Hewitt. I think on that same album, Quincy introduced us to the next singing heartthrob, Tevin Campbell, on that joint. But yeah, I mean, when you just go back, I would encourage anybody, especially anybody that's not really familiar with music, particularly Quincy Jones and his respected catalog. I mean, it wasn't just R&B. It wasn't just maybe psychedelic funk rock. I mean, this man even collaborated with Frank Sinatra. It's a great who's list. Like your mind would just wait. He worked with, and you look at where certain black, how do I phrase this? It's not about being politically correct or anything like that. I'll just throw it out there, and then you guys will just understand what I mean by this. But when you see certain black entertainers that are heads of their own entertainment enterprise, like a 50 Cent, like a oh, what's the dude's name? Medea. I can't think of his name right now. Medea goes to jail. Medea goes to hell. Tyler Perry. When you think about those guys, all of them pretty much taking their cues from a Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones, just the way he was able. I mean, the Godfather, definitely Barry Gordy, but like Barry Gordy, Quincy Jones, it's almost neck to neck, almost. But Quincy Jones definitely with the much stronger catalog and just everything that I'm telling you, back in the day, everybody and their mama wanted to work with Quincy Jones. Everybody and their mama. You need a hit, Quincy is the one that you call up. You think you discovered a new talent and you need the right songs for this talent to go over, call Quincy. You got a movie that you need scored, call Quincy. Oh, you got a TV show hung and you need a really cool kick ass theme song. Okay, Quincy's the one. Call him up. I mean, everything this guy touched back in the day was freaking gold. Gold. It's funny, I'm mentioning all of this, and I still think about that time where Quincy Jones was commenting on the late Richard Pryor. I don't know how many of you guys are aware of the story I'm about to say, but he told this story, did Quincy Jones, of some of Richard Pryor's rendezvous with men. So like there's like this long withstanding rumor that Richard Pryor, he did some stuff with men. And you're like, wait, what? Oh, y'all ribbing, y'all just joking. But like when you go back and you listen to some of Pryor's uh little sketches, you listen to some of his stand-up comedy, he talks about how he sucked a guy off and he had sex with like all kinds of stuff. And so you're like, wait, what? And so I remember Quincy Jones was one of the first to talk about, some stuff had went down. And Quincy also talked about the fact that Marlon Brando, yes, that Marlon Brando, I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse, had intimate affairs with Richard Pryor and Marvin Gaye. And of course, certain estates, they're like, oh, what's this man talking about? Ah, like, how dare you? Right? How dare he talk that way? And look it up. If that's your first time hearing that stuff, like it's fun trivia for you to just, especially if you want to have a nice little icebreaker with folks, like look that up. But I mean, Yeah. I mean, 91, that is a good run. Um, 28 Grammy Awards, Primetime Emmy Award, Tony Award, um, 7 Academy Awards, and 4 Golden Globe Awards. This is why I'm going on and on and on about this guy. This dude, this dude was the man, was the freaking man. So rest in power, Quincy Jones. For those of you that's a little bit curious as far as what's going on here, like how did he die? No information is known right now as far as what the cause of death is. But he did die in his home in Bel Air. So sounds like he died peacefully, but rest in power. Rest in power. The one, the only. You think Barry Gordy might be next this year before the year is out? You think he might be? Kind of makes you wonder. Kind of makes you wonder. That does leave Barry Gordy, doesn't it? Damn. What I would what I would have given, what I would have given, and I'm surprised the director did not come along and do this. But what I would have given to see a documentary, you know how WWE used to do those table for three joints? Love that fucking series. I wish we could have seen one where we have Barry Gordy, Quincy Jones, Rick Rubin, Steve Lillywhite. This is just for my personal preference here. Um just thinking like what's another producer? Um I'm sure I could think of two more. I'm thinking about Butch Vig. I don't know why, but I think yeah, you know what? For all the stuff that he did with Garbage and Nirvana, yeah, he's put some damn good stuff. I would put him in there as well. Yeah, I think that's a damn good list. I'm sure there's probably one more I can think of. Oh, yes, actually. Yes. They're a duo, but man, their fingerprints are just felt everywhere. Terry Lewis and is it Jimmy Jam? I would like to see something like that with just all of those guys. Just talking production and entrepreneurship. Just I think that would be very, very fun. Once again, rest in power, Quincy Jones. So let's talk about first off. I didn't get a chance to mention this last week. And there was somebody that had commented on one of my posts, and they were like, you know, well, who cares about that? Let's talk about the fact that we got this ring boy scandal. How about that? And it was this person's obviously new. This person don't know no better, But I left them a little comment, letting them know, hey, look, pretty much, I called him. I said, "It's obvious you knew." It's like, oh, we talk about it. If it's got people talking, we definitely talking about it. But the last thing I'm gonna do is talk about something that I haven't done any research on. I'm not prepared to talk about it at all. So yeah, like, come on now. But yeah, we're gonna talk about it. So for those that may be under a rock, might have been just going off the grid for the past couple of days. Obviously, with the Vince McMahon docu-series on Netflix, it's opened up some old wounds. And if you are the McMahon family, some of those old wounds that's been reopened again is now finding itself on the shoulders of a new generation. And it is piquing the interest of certain individuals in law enforcement, prosecution, right? So the stuff involving Mel Phillips, the Ring Boy scandal, that's basically come back to resurface as WWE is pretty much being hit up with a new lawsuit, basically. Now, for the record, Mel Phillips, the referee that basically is at the center of all of this, all of this stuff that went down in the 90s. And again, the bullet points for this one, Mel Phillips was allegedly involved in sexual harassment and abuse of underage boys. How this man even had his own goddamn locker room is beyond me, y'all. But apparently, he had a locker room, and who knows? Maybe it wasn't really a locker room. Maybe it was just you fill in the blank. Maybe he had a little space, crawl space, and catering or something. I don't know. Janitor's closet, or I don't know. I don't care, right? But it's so weird because when his name was first brought up, and we talked about this in our reviews for the Vince McMahon docu-series, which you can go and you can check it out on YouTube. I haven't done an omnibus yet for that. I think what's going to happen is when we maybe get to the week of Thanksgiving, and because I believe I'm going to be just taking that whole week off. I know for a fact I'm not going to be covering Rampage that week because I'm going to be traveling with the family, but I will at some point between now and then. I'm going to have that omnibus ready to go, make the audio version of it be available for y'all to check out on demand and downloads. But I remember bringing up in one of those, I don't know if it was episode 2 or episode 3, but just how word got to Vince McMahon and crew about Mel Phillips. They actually fired him. But then for whatever respected freaking reason, they brought the guy back. So, like, on the one hand, it's, oh, hey, good for you guys. You hear about this crap that's going on with your ring announcer here. Like, that's great. You got rid of him. But then you bring the guy back and stuff continues and stuff pretty much gets worse. Mel Phillips, I think he died around 2011, 2012. So it's sadly, we can't bring this individual into a court of law and let his peers, based on the evidence and witness statements and everything, right, try him before a jury. And unfortunately, that's not going to happen and everything. Tom Cole, who was one of the former ring boys, uh, came forth with his allegations about what all went down. I remember the interviews clear as day that went down with those, hearing that young man and his stories and all that. Um, it's just, it's crazy what is going on here. And then in a new development, see, here's where things are getting kind of interesting now. In a new development, allegedly Linda McMahon knew a lot a lot about this stuff that was going on, because I guess at one point Vince McMahon decided, hey, look, this is like just too much. Like I can't handle this right now. This is too much that's on my plate. Like, can you maybe step in, and can you, of all the things to ask your significant other, hey, I could use an assist here. Could you maybe come in here and maybe, help me out? Well, she did a little bit more than helping. That's for sure. A little bit more than that. But going back to Tom Cole said that Terry Garvin got fired after he stood up for himself. Pat Patterson, remember Bruce Pritchard, and remember what Tony Atlas was married from the Vince McMahon docuseries. But Pat Patterson, Terry Garvin, and Mel Phillips, they were fired from WWE at one point. Pat Patterson was brought back to the company. Terry Garvin was also accused by Barry Orton of sexual assault. You had Cole, who accused Pat Patterson of being inappropriate towards him by looking and touching him without permission. That gives me just the nasty chills. Just ew. Just ew. Um, when Cole turned 16, Terry Garvin also tried to engage in immediate sexual activity with him, but he refused. He also offered drugs and alcohol at the same time. 3 years later, Garvin contacted Cole again, this time under the pretense of offering him a warehouse job at WWE. Cole got the job, but he was later fired after refusing sexual advances from Garvin at his family home. Cole later sued WWE and they reached a settlement of $55,000. He also got his job back in addition to a 2-year pay and a promise that neither Phillips nor Garvin would work for the company ever again. They had a clause for Patterson that allowed him to return to the company, though, shortly thereafter. So, allegedly Vince McMahon, Linda McMahon, many others in upper executive positions in WWE knew about all this. Vince McMahon publicly said he had no idea of any such abuse taking place in his company. But you got Phil Mushnick of the New York Post claiming otherwise. No, Vince McMahon did know, because you rewind everything back to 1992. Phil Mushnick wrote that Vince McMahon had confessed to knowing about Mel Phillips and all that stuff attached to children and everything. In what Mel Phillips described, I'm sorry, in what Phil Mushnick described as a pour his heart out phone call, which was also confirmed by Dave Meltzer. He was later rehired by Linda McMahon, was Mel Phillips, because Phillips really missed wrestling. No, I think he really missed what he was able to do to those little boys. That's what he really, I don't know. Oh my God, my head hurts from this, y'all. I don't know why Linda McMahon, if this is true, why she would bring this guy back. Like, yeah, okay, great. He really likes the wrestling. But what he really needs is psychiatric help, the whole 9 yards. Like, the last thing he needs to be worried about is getting back into the ring and all that. But I digress. So even though Vince McMahon did an appearance on the Larry King show where he openly said he had no idea whatsoever about, oh, I didn't learn anything about this until I read the little column there by Phil Mushnick. Yet another incident that was allegedly reported to Vince McMahon where Phillips and an 11-year-old boy were involved. McMahon was informed about this, but he didn't do anything about that incident. Phillips was once spotted in the back seat of a car in Pennsylvania performing a sexual act on a 11-year-old boy. This is what Penthouse reported back in 1992, according to Bruno Sammartino. Y'all know my history with Bruno Sammartino, Mr. Sammartino. Love him tremendously. Had him on the show. Had his phone number. Had his home phone number. I would call, check up on him, see how he was doing, and all of that. I didn't do a really good job staying in touch with him. I wish I could have stayed in touch with him more often. And I would just be checking in, just seeing how he's doing, seeing, make sure everything's all right. I say all that to say this. I'm taking Bruno Sammartino at his word. He got no reason to embellish, finagle, all that. Yeah, I'm going to take the man at his word. Vince McMahon was told about the incident and he elected not to do anything. Lennon McMahon was asked by Charleston Post and Courier in 1993 about the accusations Cole made against Phillips, and she didn't seem to believe him, saying, "As I have found out now, no, I don't. I think he's very confused." So what has changed here? Like, seriously, what has changed here? So October 23rd, lawsuit was filed against Vince, Linda McMahon, WWE, TKO Group Holdings in Baltimore County Circuit Court. So when I say we're going to talk about it, like if it's got you all talking, we're going to be talking about it. We're going to be talking about it. So this hits very close to home, y'all, because we're right here in the nation's capital of Washington, D.C. And you have a boatload of victims, all from Maryland, that have joined together in this lawsuit against all of the parties that I just mentioned. Baltimore County Circuit Court, on behalf of the survivors of the sexual abuse in the Ringboy scandal, the anonymous plaintiffs were mentioned as 5 John Does in the court document. They accused Phillips of grooming them and touching them. The plaintiffs were in their early teenage years when the abuse allegedly took place. The suit alleges that the wrestlers and executives in the company were well aware of this, but they didn't do anything to stop Phillips' rampant and open abuse of young boys. The complaint also cited a Business Insider article where an anonymous source confirmed that people in the company knew about Phillips' wrongdoings. Tom Cole was not a part of this suit, as he passed away, sadly, in 2021. The boys that the company hired to put up the ring and so forth were being had by some of the folks who were in the wrestling ops side of things. And it was just generally known by everybody that it was going on. Remember, now when you play back Bret Hart and saying certain things there in regards to this topic for that Vince docu-series, you're just kind of grinding your teeth and you just got this sour patch look on your face like WTF here, man. Um, One person noted that it was a mess. It was an absolute mess. The McMahons clearly knew what was going on, but really did nothing to stop it. There was not a damn thing we could do about it. So this is pretty much where we are right now. And look, this is one of those joints where obviously it's a developing story, a continuing developing story. We're definitely going to be staying on top of it here. I will definitely be staying on top of it here. And as far as legalities go and all that, I will definitely reach out to those law experts and everything to really understand, help us all understand, what exactly is going on here, what we can expect, what should we be embracing for as the wrestling community and everything. But for those that's going, oh, this ain't gonna go nowhere, nothing's gonna look, we see what ultimately happened with porn star Ron Jeremy. We saw what ultimately happened with Epstein, Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, R. Kelly. Mofos be going down. Okay, mofos going down. So this, I don't want to keep hearing the narrative of, oh, this doesn't matter. Like we ain't got nothing to worry about. There's nothing to see here. Like no, this matters. It mattered way back when, and sadly, all those people, they all fell on deaf ears. Sadly, whoever they did tell, It just kept falling on deaf ears. So this matters now because obviously the change in culture, the way our society operates now, victims that have been impacted by some form of sexual abuse. Now more than ever, you got the resources that's available to help them, especially if they're still dealing with some type of mental trauma, but you can also, hold those accountable for, hey, nah, we need justice. We need, you know, now if you were to ask me straight up, what do I see happening? Right. I don't want people thinking, the lawyer that's got all these people together, it's going to be some type of a payday. This is just clout. No, no, I don't believe that whatsoever. I believe ultimately what's going to happen. And for those that's going TKO, why is TKO being brought into this? They acquired the company, and why are they being dragged into this? This had nothing to do with them prior to, like, this makes no sense whatsoever. It's just basically following the respected chain of command when it's all said and done. When you are trying to sue, right? Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to say Titan Towers? Like, non-existent. Like, so you're going to go with, okay, who is the employer? Like, who, you know, it's not being said until you see language that says it in black and white. Otherwise, TKO knew and they didn't do anything. They didn't step forward. Until you see some type of language like that, it is just, hey, this is the lawsuit, right? These are the people. Like, this is what's up. So keep that in the back of you all's head. The other thing I need you all to say to yourselves is this question: how far these John Does, how far are they going to take this? Are they willing to go all the way to trial with this, no matter what? Or are they going to settle? And I honestly believe they all are going to settle. I don't want them to settle. My message to all the victims: don't settle. Don't settle, because the last thing that you want is for it to appear as though you're looking for a payday. If this is really about jumping out there, letting your voices be heard, and speaking for other victims, then see it all the way through, man. See it all the way through. The hell with the money. If anything, donate all that money to charity. Donate it to Salvation Army. Donate it to a uh, local crisis center that takes care of abused children, abused women, what have you. Right, go in that direction with all of that, but don't settle. Like, take this all the way. But I believe WWE is going to TKI. I believe they're going to do everything in their power to try and settle this and get this out the way as quickly as possible. Just the fact that potentially Linda McMahon knew and she didn't do a damn thing to assist, you know, that makes my stomach twist big time. It makes it turn big time. So that's all that's going on with that. But my 2 cents from a distance. Look, I'm no lawyer, but I've definitely covered a lot on this show in the almost 13 years I've been on the air. And I've always given you guys my knee jerk reaction, my gut instinct. And 90% of the time, you all let me hear it. You say, Lee, you said, and it came to fruition. You was on point, dog. 90% of the time, I'm on point. I feel this. I, my gut is saying this is going to get settled. My gut, and I hope it doesn't. I hope it goes all the way, but my gut is telling me this is going to get settled. I don't think it's all about a payday. I really don't. Um, and look, if WWE does settle, WWE TKO does settle, they're definitely going, okay, hey, some wrongdoing, obviously. Look, to the point, I wouldn't be surprised if for all the money that TKO is generating off of WWE, I would not be surprised if TKO goes, look, the old regime, that was with the old regime. Like, this is not how we do things. We're very sorry to hear about XYZ. What can we do to make it right? What can we do to, right? I know some people are eyeballing Triple H Paul Levesque and they're wondering, what did he know? And if he did know, when did he know? And all that. Like, for stuff like that, and if Shane and if Steph, that depends on how far this goes. Trust me, if we go into a discovery phase, that is potentially where a whole lot of cans are going to be opened of bad worms. And we will definitely learn a lot then. So that's my thoughts on that in a nutshell. Lighten it up a little bit for you guys here. That was pretty deep that we just went into. Let's talk about WWE's ID program. So I'm sure a lot of you guys had saw the press release that was put out there, and I heard some really piss poor takes by some folks in the uh what do you call it, the internet wrestling community or whatever, WWID, not to be confused with investigation discovery, basically independent development. In a press release, WWE announced WWID, short for independent development. The new program has been launched to identify, support, and develop independent wrestling schools and wrestling talent. It's going to help independent wrestlers from certain wrestling schools receive enhanced training and mentorship, which will help them get into WWE smoothly. I've heard people look at this and say, you know, "Uh, this is evil. That evil ass WWE, that crooked ass WWE. Look at everything that they're doing here. This is, there's definitely a divided fan base in regards to this. It's so funny. You're talking to somebody that remembers when Ohio Valley Wrestling was around. And, my best friend, all she wanted to do was be a WWE wrestler. That's all she ever wanted to do. And she would utilize the hell out of her networking back in the day, talk with the right people. And it just seemed that there was no interest for whatever respective reason. There was no interest. Even when the first couple of seasons of Tough Enough came around, and some of the judges that were involved, for whatever respective reason, some of those judges went kind of petty. Maybe she rejected some of their advances. It was a lot more than flirting, right? Whatever the case may be. Whatever the case may be. But I tell you what, one of those times, I think it was the very last time. I think it was her second or third attempt after Tough Enough. They pretty much offered her a developmental contract. They said, "Look, we think you got some potential. We want you to move to Louisville and get some training and so she had it on the silver platter, right? She had it on the silver platter, but This meant she had to pick up her entire life as she knew it in Washington, D.C., and go move to some new territory. Don't know nobody, no friends, no family, just ice cold, 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 cold. She wasn't prepared to make that kind of a choice. She wasn't prepared to make that kind of a decision. She didn't want to make that kind of decision. So she passed on that. And I know that's something that still bothers her to this very day because it's one of those what if? What if? That would freaking burn a hole in the back of my head as well, as I'm sure many of you all as well. Okay? So I have so many friends that either at one point used to be a wrestler, was a wrestler, just some of the stories that I've heard of them being on the road, honing their craft, the lowball pays that they would get, driving X amount of hours just to go do one show. They pretty much would make enough of gas, you know, whoopee do. You pretty much got your gas fare back and you got yourself maybe some McDonald's for the next 2 or 3 days. Like whoopee doo. It was really nothing but what was the buzz, what was the high was the fact that they had a match and they were able to perform, whether it was 10 people, 20 people, like they got that experience and hopefully the name continues to stay out there in circulation. Oh, especially if they ended up somehow filming it, knew somebody that filmed it, friend was tagging along, they were able to film it. You know, I think one of the worst things, this all ties to WWE's ID thing. I think one of the worst things that has happened to the sport of professional wrestling, as long as I have been a fan of it, I've done my due diligence to learn everything I can about it, whether it's through my proper research and or speaking to those that's in the business or used to be in the business. One of the worst things that has happened for the industry as a whole is the fact that promotions like AEW, they go, "Hey, come work with us. You want to get paid?" I mean, it's almost like Daniel Snyder and the Washington Commanders when he was in charge. The running gag that we would have for Daniel Snyder out here in DC. Oh, if you play football or if you played football at one point and you're looking for a quick payday, come on over here to Washington. Just come on over here. If Daniel Snyder thinks you can help him win a Super Bowl, because he always thought he could buy himself a Super Bowl. That was Daniel Snyder. He always thought he could buy himself a Super Bowl. Man, come on over here. You'll get money. You'll be set for life. He'll pay you whatever you want. Just come on over here. Tony Khan did more harm than good. Don't get me wrong. For the people that helped lay down the foundation for AEW, the originators, those people that were at play for those first 2, 3 critical years for AEW, definitely deserving of every single dollar coming to them. But I'm talking about everybody else that you go, wait a minute, what the hell here? We're going to talk about it much later on in the show. Marko Stunt, definitely a good example of that. Here's a guy that pretty much, young kid on the independents, and just plucked from obscurity and pretty much overnight is a TV star, getting more money than he could possibly handle. And so when you keep understand, boys and girls, when you keep doing stuff like that, where you have somebody that hasn't paid their dues, that hasn't truly gotten the experience under their belt, and you're just, I mean, it's no different. You really stop and think about how I'm laying this down. I mean, it is no different than when we see these teens that go, yeah, I'm going to skip college. I'm going to go right into the draft. Take your pick for, the respective major sport, but they go, yeah, I'm skipping, I'm skipping college. I'm going right into the draft. AW and crew, Tony Khan and crew, they've hurt the business. Don't believe me? Go back in time. Don't take my word for it. I don't want you guys, oh, you're hating. Like, no, I got nothing but love for AEW. Like, when they're doing shit right, I give them a lot of praise. I give them a lot of praise. And this isn't me crapping on AEW. I'm just stating an observation. You don't believe me? Just go back and just go back 5 years. Just go back before AEW, before Cody and them did that first show, like before all of that. Go back years prior and look at how it was. Look at how everything was structured back in the day. It was a case where if you were a wrestler and you're out there on the independents, you're hoping that, first of all, you were working a part-time gig, whatever your part-time gig was, and if you were juggling your education at the same time, then you were doing both of those, and 9 times out of 10, you probably were wrestling on a Thursday, definitely a Friday, Saturday, maybe a Sunday as well, from time to time, but you were doing those while juggling all the other stuff I just mentioned. If you were a parent, oof, you definitely were juggling that as well. Okay. And you were doing that every single weekend, and you were getting yourself as many dates that you could get booked for that whole calendar month, for that whole month calendar. And you were getting them as far in advance as humanly possible. And with the rise of podcasting, you would get yourself out there, get your name, get your brand out there by the barter system with the podcasts. The podcasters would win because they had somebody on their show as a guest that they could talk about, go back and forth, right? If you're the wrestler, right, you're promoting yourself, you're promoting your brand, you're promoting your upcoming appearances. You're hopefully going to be tapping into that podcaster's fan base and basically get them to convert over into being a fan of your work, that ultimately will lead to them coming out of their pockets to support you in your endeavors, going to your store. Maybe maybe you got a store with pro wrestling tees, you got some t-shirts up, whatever, however they represent. Or maybe where you're going to be wrestling, it's in that neck of the woods where they live, or it's just a short drive, and they're going to be able to come up and they're going to be able to see you and all that. So you think about how everything was way, way, way before AEW came into play and everything. You did the independence. You hope that your body of work would reach the right people. And either it was going to reach WWE, who would 9 times out of 10 send you to their developmental system, or maybe you got an opportunity to, if you did it just right, and you had the right type of connections, maybe your journey would ultimately lead you to TNA. If it didn't lead you to TNA, maybe you'd be able to do some stuff overseas outside of North America and build up that way. I know Shinsuke Nakamura had talked a great deal about when he was starting off, right? So it could have went down a number of interesting ways. But with the way AEW basically crippled, and they did, they WWE to its own right. Don't think I'm just all beaten up on AEW. Like WWE to an extent has some accountability as well, But AEW has done more damage because not only with the amount of money that they're putting out there for talents, hey, we'll give you this, sign with us, we'll give you all this money. But then that hurts the independent market because now you've got those independent promoters that's going, man, we can't book a freaking show for shit because all the people that we're trying to hit up, they're seeing what's going on with, over here, and they think they're going to be able to get that same kind of money from us. And that's not how it works. What the hell? It definitely does not hurt with the fact that, AEW, despite the fact that all they're doing is 2 live TV shows, they're not touring. Said wrestler can't go do XYZ number of independent shows for various promotions because Tony Khan and crew are putting a stranglehold over it. Now, remember what I said. I just talked about WWE. I said, hey, AEW ain't all like WWE's done some stuff too. WWE has done right. We've watched the Vince McMahon docuseries. We've seen how Vince has operated when it came to the old territory days and all that stuff. I like what's going on with Triple H, Paul Levesque, and crew, and essentially what they're trying to do here with this WWE ID. I like what they're trying to do here with this, but again, it's a slippery slope because there's good and bad that goes into this. Because look at it from this standpoint. WWE ID, they're going to be able to choose certain prospects. They're going to be able to. Here's the good and bad with that. When you see these long-term contracts or just whatever, short-term, whatever, man, we're paying this person for 4 years and they're getting $250,000 or, just whatever amount. It's guaranteed money. And that was the problem for like the longest time. So it's like, God damn, we're still stuck with Dana Brooke. Whoa. Right now, you've got this unique situation where, all right, nah, those days are pretty much over. Right now, we're just going to, yeah, we think you might have what it takes. We want to support you on your developmental journey, and we want to see what's going on with. Yeah, we want to provide you with some financial opportunities. We want to make sure that you get your training. We want to make sure that you get some good mentorship, but you're only going to be able to get it through these respected uh, training academies, basically, which includes Booker T's Reality of Wrestling, Cody Rhodes, The Nightmare Factory, Black and Grave Academy, Elite Pro Wrestling Training Center, Knock X Pro Academy. All of these current or former WWE superstars are the head trainers for this joint. Some people are looking at this and they're thinking, this is maybe going to be kind of like a NXT UK type of deal. I don't see any of that happening. I do not see any of that happening, contrary to how some fans may feel. I also don't see this as hurting indie promotions, not from the standpoint of how a lot of people are making it out to be. Because let's say WWE comes across a prospect, they want to financially back them, they want to support them in everything, and maybe that upcoming wrestler, hey, I appreciate what you guys are trying to offer me and everything, but I really like what's going on with me being on the independence. I love the flexibility that I have. I love that I'm, really able to go in and come across all these great people, these great coaches, and I just like the flexibility that I have. Well, WWE is pretty much going to be like, okay, well, we can respect that. So, you don't want to be part of our program? No, no, no. I think I'm good. I'm just gonna, okay, well, now it's not like a gun's being pointed to these. Like, if they decide they want to go in a different direction, they want to keep doing what they're gonna be doing and everything, then cool. But this narrative that, some fans believe this hurts the indie promotions who may not have gotten to work with, some of the best upcoming wrestlers because they all are just pretty much, going with WWE instead and everything. Um, that's too early. That's a very premature judgment to have. I personally feel. I think this is one of those cases where, as far as the criticisms goes, we need to sit back and reserve that. I know C4 on social media, they said the point of independent wrestling is for talent to discover themselves and develop themselves, to grow, to learn. If you claim to be an independent but are bound to a $1 billion company, you are not an independent. So, a little tongue in cheek there, because basically, if you're looking at reality of wrestling, you're looking at, all these other joints that we just mentioned a couple of minutes ago. You can look at them and you could essentially, based on what C4 is saying, you're not independent. You are under a $1 billion company. So no, how are you gonna say you're independent? It's almost like C4 is saying, you sold out, right? Remember Metallica, Load, Reload? Oh, they sold out. Like, I think that is a very, very strong statement to make. I think it really just depends on I think it really just depends on what type of role exactly is WWE going to have, right? Is it really going to be about WWE going, oh, ooh, ooh, they look good. Ooh, 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 gimme, 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 gimme. I don't think it's going to be that type of a situation at all. I think it's more so gonna be a situation where, hey, look, because look, I'll be honest with you guys. I wish stuff like this would have been around for some of my friends back in the day. I can only imagine if it was a case where, wait a minute, you're willing to make a investment in me and my future. Essentially, you're willing to sponsor me. You essentially are willing to give me a internship. I mean, that's literally what we're talking about here. Some type of an internship, some type of a way that I can get my foot in the door of this respected industry and be off on the right foot, because I'm getting the best training. I'm getting the best help that's humanly possible. I can't help but compare this in layman's terms. I can't help but compare this to my ultimate career job, which is to be working in TV news and radio. And if you were to tell me that, okay, you are going to be able to enter that industry, not just based on the work that you've been able to obtain all these years self-taught, but now combined with your college experience, you're going to be able to take all of that, combine all of that to be in a position where, hey, you're going to get mentorship, you're going to get sponsorship, you're ultimately going to get these internship opportunities to wet your feet in the field that you're ultimately trying to be in. Because through our program, it's going to open the path to these employers. And isn't this where you want to be at the end? Right? I mean, just picture, like, if my end goal is I want to work for blah, blah, blah station, I want to work with blah, blah, blah network, I want to be with CNN, then it's like, okay, I'd be a fool. Like, you would be a fool. Like, so I'm looking at that. I'm looking at it from that standpoint. And I'm going, okay, this really doesn't hurt like that. It really doesn't. It's interesting seeing the criticism that's coming in from people that I've heard some really piss poor whack takes when WWE ID's goal is to help train wrestlers. That's it. Yeah, sure. Granted, WWE, they haven't revealed a lot about ID just yet. We've got fans basically continuing to speculate the repercussions it could have for wrestlers, promoters. You also got, hey, look, WWE ID, for what it's worth, this may actually be very beneficial to not just the wrestlers, but for the industry as a whole. Look, we could be here a year from now and go, you know what? It's not as bad as we thought it was going to be when it was first announced. Yeah, my God, Lee, we thought it was going to be the end of the world. We thought the independence was going to be like, we just thought all kinds of, crazy and boy, were we wrong. Right? Everything is still in the air. Nothing has officially materialized yet. Let's just pump the brakes and let's just take a wait and see approach, y'all. We ain't got to be getting all upset. We ain't got to be, right? But Matt, I've heard some really, really bad takes out there about this, and it's just sit back, just wait. But this is how you need to be thinking. It's real easy for people to look at this piece of news, shit all over it, right? And what was really surprising to me was hearing allegedly some people that actually work in the business shit on this. And meanwhile, I'm looking at these bullshit clips online of some of the most stupidest, insane, like, why are we doing this? It's 2024. Why are we doing this in the ring? Like, there's no need for that. I'm all for entertainment. I'm all for the jokey jokes and all that other stuff, but there's no reason to do this right here. If at the end of the day, you're telling me, hey, look, this promotion, whether it be WWE or somebody else. By the way, I like the fact that NWA has this went totally under the radar for a lot of people. NWA have put out a press release announcing that they're going to be doing their own developmental company, pretty much following in the footsteps of what Harley Race's old school was doing, and Trevor Murdoch, how he came from out of that. So they basically are resurrecting Harley Race's old school name that he used to be the headmaster for. Aaron Stevens, several Trevor Murdoch, several others are going to be training, making sure these kids are doing it right and everything. And I see that news. I'm like, oh, Well, good for them. Good for them to, get involved in that and everything. So, but like this is a wait and see approach. I promise you, a year from now, we're gonna be like, wow, that was a nothing burger, huh? That didn't hurt the industry at all. It didn't hurt the independent promotions at all. There, boy, we got that wrong, didn't we? Chill, babies, chill. See some other stuff we can get into. Oh, shout out to Eric Bischoff. I saw this news and I was like, whoa. And I'm actually going to check this out because I'm very excited to check it out. In case you all are not aware, Eric Bischoff was approached by MLW's Kurt Bauer to take over MLW for one night. His bad boy, he could do as he pleases. And Eric Bischoff decided, okay, yeah, cool. Now, understand something. Eric Bischoff isn't going to be able to go total rogue with this. Obviously, there are story arcs and everything that's already set in stone. So basically, this is about his style of storytelling, the way he's going to lay it out format wise and telling those stories and everything. I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to be able to do. Now, for those of you that are curious, it looks like it's going to be happening at MLW One Shot in New York on December 5th. And Bischoff, again, total creative control. So I'm definitely going to check it out. I hope you guys end up checking it out as well. I would love nothing more than to see Eric Bischoff back on like a regular basis. And who knows, maybe this might whet our appetites enough and everything. I like the older, wiser Eric Bischoff that's running around because it's one of those, yeah, he's not going to make the same mistake twice and all that. He's a very reflective man. Now, look, I'm not saying everything Eric Bischoff touches. I'm thinking about his tenure in WCW. I witnessed practically all of that. I practically witnessed everything that was going on with him in TNA. Between both promotions, some good stuff, and there was some bad stuff, without a doubt. But I definitely want to see what he's going to be able to do. So I'm rooting for him. Again, that's going to be happening on December 5th, New York, MLW One Shot. So I'm looking forward to checking that out. Interesting news about the Hulkster. Besides who he's been running around trying to get people to vote for coming up in our elections, he recently was interviewed and shed some light on that biopic that we were talking about here off and on for a couple of years, starring Chris Hemsworth in the lead role. Right down to the point we saw pictures of Hemsworth that was running around. And we're going, wow, he is ripped. He is really getting down the Hulkster physique and all that. Okay, he might be able to pull this off. Okay. So in an interview, Hogan claims that a payment or a lack thereof wasn't placed at the right time for this biopic, and pretty much as a result of that, that was his exit clause. So, if you guys recall earlier in the summer, Joker 2 director Todd Phillips, he commented that it was not going to come together, the Hulk Hogan film. Hogan said, when asked about it, they kind of missed a beat in the contract. Yeah, Patrick, David said Netflix screwed up. There was a payment that wasn't placed at the right time. The script was amazing. Scott Silver, who wrote the script for Joker, Wolf of Wall Street, a bunch of other movies, said, this is the best thing I've ever written. When I read it, I'm like, oh my God, this is really good. At the time, I was in a space where I told him the positive stuff about wrestling. Spent about 3 years with this writer going back and forth. And when I read it, it was very, very dark, if that would be the right word. But it was probably what the public may want to see. when I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, if this thing comes out, there was talk that Chris Hemsworth would never how there was talk that Chris Hemsworth had never played a real person before, and he would probably win an Oscar. This thing is so powerful. I said, that's great. Everybody's going to do really great. Then I'm going to be left here alone. And that might be the last thing people remember me for. So I was moving forward at the time. And when they business wise missed a date, there was an option for me to pull out, and I did. I pulled out. This has no check and balance system like a documentary. What it did do, it took me right up to the time I turned bad guy until I turned to Hollywood Hogan and went to WCW. So if this movie did blow through the roof like they expected it would, then there would be another one, which would be really cool. Reasonable creative input is not the same as creative control. I would prefer creative control. I would be very fair, but it has to be a balance. It just can't be lopsided, evil, evil, evil wrestler. So obviously, by the way this sounds, what they were trying to do and everything, and I wish the host of the show would have been able to probe him, Hawkster, a lot more, but it sounds like they obviously did not, until we hear otherwise. You're led to the impression that this did not cover the steroid scandal. This did not cover the sex tape scandal. This did not cover Hawkster suing Gawker. This did not cover his nasty divorce from Linda Hogan. This did not cover uh, his son Nick and that bad automobile accident and the jail tape audio phone conversation or whatever of the Hawkster and what he had to say about Nick's friend who ended up being paralyzed. Obviously, the audio tape of Hogan saying the N word. Obviously, none of that was covered and how this was written. And it sounds to me that the areas in which they did focus on, yeah, really, really good, but not quite to Hulkster's liking because there is a certain image that he is trying to protect and maintain. And even though he might be saying, I'm a Christian now, I'm born again, hey, I've learned from my mistakes, and we all grow, and I am a much different person now. Practice what you preach, brother. Instead, it's pretty much, yeah, nah, we ain't going in that direction. Y'all ain't touching. No, no, no. Where's a loophole? I want out of this. I'm getting off of this damn train. I want out. That's literally what he did. So I mean, he literally just admitted, I'm the one that pulled the plug on this because I didn't like what was going on with the story. It was too dark. No, it was too real. Sounds like that's what it was going. It was too real, and uh probably some of the themes that were touched, it just, no, I want out of this. So that's what was going on with that one. Would have been interesting to see. You know what? Now that we have that out there, I hope that Todd Phillips, Chris Hemsworth, and everybody else that was attached to this, the know-it-alls, I hope they get an opportunity to speak their piece on this because we know how he likes to stir the pot, that Hawkster. So it'd be really nice to hear what they have to say, and if they can somehow validate what Hawkster is saying here, or no, on the contrary, this is why it went down. This is how it really went down. This is where we are. TNA, want to give them a shout out, give you a 1-2 punch as far as TNA news goes. Number one, it looks like TNA has some very interesting heads in some executive positions. I don't know if you guys had heard about this, but Christy Hemme, y'all remember Christy Hemme? I love me some Christy Hemme, Hemme Power. She's back with the company once again. She is now behind the scenes head of marketing. Head of marketing. And remember Alicia Edwards, Eddie Edwards' wife? She's back once again. She's now working as a marketing coordinator. Sammy Callahan, he's still doing his thing as a wrestler, but now he's going to be working as a live events and marketing consultant. And what really sealed his position in TNA, there was some promotion that he handled as far as like marketing, all that stuff goes. It was an independent wrestling promotion, and TNA was paying very close attention to what he was doing. And he did some phenomenal work, they felt, and so he was able to score that position. So congrats to all three. Apparently, they all signed on for their new roles in late October going into this early November. So best of luck to all of them in those positions. Sounds pretty good. Also, not really too much came out of the Crown Jewel press conference, but one thing that I know a lot of you guys kind of interested about, and it kind of follows up on what we were talking about on the Crown Jewel post show, which is, hey, WWE, Saudi Arabia, like what, future of it, where does all that stand and everything. So remember, WWE, they've been holding the Saudi shows 2014, 15, 16, 2018. They had announced a 10-year strategic partnership. So Triple H had previously announced that, besides that partnership, that extended deal, that 10-year deal. So that 10-year deal, that's going to take him through 2027. By all accounts, from what Triple H had said, he is hoping that with the Saudi deal, they continue to remain partners. He's loved working with them, and they're hoping they're going to be able to do even more shows way past when their deal comes up in 2027. So, by all accounts, Triple H is sounding pretty confident that their partnership is going to remain intact. Take that for what it's worth. Some of you guys, maybe I can just hear you guys, and I can feel it. I can feel it right now. I can feel it. I just hear those groans from you all. By the way, I want to give a shout out to our friends in the UK. They made the announcement tonight on Raw. There's going to be a Road to WrestleMania Europe 2025 tour for Raw and SmackDown. And I took down a screenshot of this, and it looks like March 14th is when things begin. Barcelona, Spain. It's going to be an edition of SmackDown. Then you get a Dortmund, Germany Road to WrestleMania show on March 15th. That's followed up the very next day, March 16th, Hanover, Germany. March 17th, Brussels, Belgium. You get a edition of Monday Night Raw. March 21st in Bologna, Italy. You guys get SmackDown. March 22nd, Belfast, Northern Ireland. You guys get a Road to WrestleMania show. We got 6 more dates. March 23rd, Nottingham, England, a Road to WrestleMania show. Then the very next night, March 24th in Glasgow, Scotland, a Monday night edition of Raw. March 28th, London, England. You guys get SmackDown. March 29th, Vienna, Austria, a Road to WrestleMania show, followed up by a March 30th, Amsterdam, Netherlands, Road to WrestleMania show. And it culminates in a March 31st, London, England edition of Monday Night Raw. So we got a lot of listeners in all of those respected neck of the woods. I'm always staying on top of the analytics, seeing where everybody we got some really good listeners, good fan base in the UK area. So shout out to y'all in the UK. I hope you guys are going to be able to go to those shows. And if you do, definitely let your man know. Definitely wouldn't mind hearing about your experience. Hell, we didn't even bring you on the show for a couple of minutes and all that. I want to close out by talking about the latest WWE releases. So, small little group that was released. It hit us as we were going into the weekend and everything. After what, 11, 12, 13 years with the WWE, Baron Corbin has been released. How do I feel about Baron Corbin? I got to be honest, and this is not long-winded either. Baron Corbin, man, what a lucky ass dude, huh? To be with the WWE for all those years and to be able to make the amount of money that he was able to make. And he comes off as a very smart young man. I see some of the stuff that driving wise he's pushing and how he's living, and it seems like a very smart man that has budgeted his money wisely. Baron Corbin is going to do just fine. Baron Corbin does not strike me as someone who, okay, I'm going to go work for these guys now. I'd be shocked to see him continue on in the wrestling industry. I really would. I can see him doing virtual signings. I could see him doing, besides virtual signings, I could see him doing a little tour at some of the little wrestling conventions and all that. But he strikes me as someone that I've made my money. I'm good. I'm having a hard time picturing him with another wrestling promotion. So before anybody even asks me, like, what promotion do I see Baron popping up? Do I see him popping up in AEW, or do I see him popping up in certain name? That one is, normally I'd be able to go, Baron strikes me as someone that doesn't need the wrestling. He strikes me as someone that, no, I've done what I need to do with my money very wisely. You know, I don't need it. I'm good. So if he continues on, my whole point, if he continues on in the industry, that'll be a shock to me. But the guy's been lucky all these years. Lucky, 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 lucky. Some of the other people that have been released, you just look at them and you go, how? How is that possible? And look, let me tell you something in regards to Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin, I've never heard anything bad about Baron Corbin behind the scenes. If you really want to pick my brain and you want to ask me what I think this honestly came down to, no different than the Shelton Benjamin situation, which is Shelton Benjamin situation, Bobby Lashley situation for that matter, which is, look, we'd like to continue to keep you on, but not at the amount of money that we're paying you, right? It's, compare it to some of your favorite TV shows that's out there, right? The longer that the shows go on, the higher the budget per episode, the more money that the stars of the show, the directors, that the writers need to get, and you just get to a point where you go, okay, enough is enough. We gotta, like, yeah, I think we need to, like, end this show and maybe just do a spinoff with a new young cast, bunch of unfamiliar names, maybe have one veteran actor. That is a transplant from the previous series, right? That way we can kind of keep the viewers' attention, but they're really engulfed with this new cast. It's really about the new cast. You feel me? So I think in the case of Baron Corbin, and if the reports are true, apparently Baron Corbin, didn't they say he was like filming something for WWE? I think they said he was filming something, and he basically got told, "Hey, we're not going to renew your contract." So to be filming something and then be told, "Hey, by the way, we're not going to renew your contract." That is just, Look, I like how WWE is doing things here, man. WWE is basically going, no, we're not gonna go back and forth. Like, no, we're good. We're good. I like that. I like, part of me likes that. But no, I think if look, what you see is what you get. And it's literally one of those, okay, do we really want to do this for another 3 years, for potentially another 5 years? Like, we've gone in every single direction humanly possible with this guy. What haven't we done? I will say this, and I'm not just saying this because the man got released. You can hear me saying this on previous episodes, especially with the timeline I'm getting ready to throw out there to you all. But WWE missed a boat on Baron Corbin. I've said that for years. The one time they should have capitalized on Baron Corbin, it was right there on the silver platter, and they didn't pull the trigger. And that goes back to when Baron Corbin had joined forces with Lacey Evans. Y'all remember that? And they were feuding with Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. And you had it culminated in that pay-per-view match where it was an intergender tag match. And if Lacey Evans or Baron Corbin pinned that respected champion, men fight men, women fight women. But if Lacey or Baron would have pinned or submitted either one of those champions, they would have won the WWE women's and the men's world heavyweight titles respectfully. I thought for sure WWE was going to pull the trigger because it seemed like everything was just on all cylinders. Finally, it was just clicking for Baron Corbin, and they didn't do it. And I thought for years, it always bugged me to this very day. Like, what the hell? It just bugged me. And that was it. That was the opportunity. You could have established the guy right then and there overnight. They didn't do it. They did not go all the way. They did not lean all the way. They kept teasing it. They didn't lean in. That was the moment. And after that, you just, okay, well, if you're not going to do it here, then what's the point? Why should we care? Wasn't quite the same after that. Wasn't quite the same after that. The stuff with JBL, I was more interested in JBL and how he was going to react and respond to Baron Corbin than Baron himself. Oh, I have somebody in here with me. I didn't realize that. Oh, cool. Two of my kids are in here. I just realized that. Okay, cool. I was so deep in the zone here. I didn't realize at least two of my furry daughters are in here. That's cool. Nice to have the company. I appreciate that. So, but yeah, Baron doesn't strike me. I'd be very shocked to see him continue on. I really, really would. Tegan Knox. This is the second time that she's been released by WWE. And look, I was right there with everybody when she was released the first rodeo. I was like, homegirl kind of got a little bit of of a bad break that first rodeo. Yeah, not really a fan of, nah, she deserves a second opportunity. Let's see what the girl can do and all that. And look, man, basically from 2017 to 2024. I mean, what's that? 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 20. I mean, that's like 7 years. That's 7 years. And, yeah, you did pretty good, on NXT and everything. But when it came time to transplant her to the main show, it just wasn't really registering. And for those of you that need a little bit of a rejogging of the memory, leading up to when she was released for the second time by the company, 2022, she had returned, basically teaming up with Liv Morgan and everything, kind of helping her out there with Damage Control. They lost to Damage Control for the women's tag titles. Then, as part of the 2023 WWE draft, she got drafted over to the Raw brand, picked up a win over Natalya to receive a shot at the NXT Women's Championship against Becky Lynch 2 weeks later. Not successful in that challenge against Becky Lynch. After that, she formed a brief alliance with Natalya, resulted in Knox defeating both the women's tag champions Chelsea Green and Piper Niven in a singles match. Then Knox and Natalya won a fatal four-way tag match to receive a shot at the women's tag titles. Losing effort shortly after that. Then you fast forward to this year, 2024's Royal Rumble. She entered in her third women's Royal Rumble match at number 12, eliminating Natalya before getting eliminated by Bayley. Then during the 2024 WWE draft, she was drafted to the SmackDown brand. Pretty much ain't been seen since and ultimately got released. So you could either call this a tough case of, man, creative, the writing team, they really didn't do anything for her. If there was ever we need to do something with her, especially now that Triple H is at the helm and everything. Look, I think when it's all said and done, given the current crop of prospects that WWE has and everything, it's kind of one of those, well, we're really okay. We not for nothing, we've tried everything and no, we're really okay. So it's a tough break. 29 years old. Confidently, she's going to continue to kick ass. Definitely on the independents. Look, Tony Khan might be interested, more power to him. I mean, that's the one thing, it's one positive thing that you cannot say about AEW's women's division. That women's division is now more than ever. It is kicking serious ass right now. They got some really good names added to that roster, y'all. They got some really good names added to their division. So Tegan Knox will be just fine wherever she lands. We haven't seen the last of her. And I think she's gonna do just fine on the independents. Now, this last one, definitely a what the hell for me personally, considering all things considered. Indi Hartwell, 28-year-old Indi Hartwell. That's a tricky one, y'all. So what, about 5 years with WWE? Basically, I remember still to this day looking at her splash page for being one of the new PC WWE PC signees, basically. When they were pushing the gray t-shirts, black sweatpants or whatever, and they're posing. I remember reading the profile, looking at her joint and everything, going, yeah. Because I remember once in a while we would play that little game where I would look at some of the photos of the new signees and go, yeah, I think this person's gonna go somewhere. This person, yeah, for sure. And with her, it was, yeah, she's got an interesting look about her. Something tells me, yeah, she's in it to win it and everything. Uh what do I say about Indi Hartwell? She had no business being released. She had no business being released. That girl was way over in NXT. I don't understand why they didn't take what was going on with some of that winning formula from NXT and make it shine so damn bright on the main roster. I look at Lyra Valkyria, for example. They should have let her stay in NXT much longer and instead do everything they could to really establish Indi Hartwell. And for whatever respected reason, they really did not do that. When you really stop and think about it, Indi Hartwell was on the main roster for essentially a year, and she spent a decent amount of that time with Candice LeRae, and that kind of brought her stock down a little bit. I personally thought, you know, I felt honestly the way that things should have gone down with Indy Hartwell incorporated on the Raw brand, especially because but remember, she was essentially that final piece um that was needed because we had Gargano, we had LeRae, we had Loomis, we just didn't have Indy Hartwell. And then once we got Candace on there, it was, oh, now we're really gonna have some fun. And for whatever respected reason, like it just what we saw with was their name The Way? I'm trying to think what was their little stable name, but Gargano and crew, we never really saw it pick up where it left off from NXT. It was kind of sad. And then when you factor in Jade Cargill, then you bring in Taya Valkyrie, and then you're focusing on the Unholy Union, and then you got Shotzi Blackheart. There's a couple other names that I'm missing. Like it just seemed like Indy Hartwell was just being pushed more further and further to the back, which was a great disservice for her because great personality, decent in the ring. I was expecting as far as like good female breakout stars on the main roster, I definitely was expecting her to be one of those. So for her to be released, could you just imagine if a heel Bailey would have been able to work with a babyface Indy Hartwell, especially if it's concerning the women's championship? Oh, that would have been a fantastic feud. Or if you want to have Indy chase after a Charlotte Flair, or if you want to have like insert, like it just would have worked. You could have even done Indy Hartwell and Nia Jax. Like it would have sold very well. I'm gonna make a bold prediction for you guys. I'm gonna make a bold prediction. In less than 2 years, Indy Hartwell will be back in the WWE. In less than 2 years. Bank on it. We have not seen the last of her in WWE. She'll be back. I'm very confident she'll be back. I think what would do her some wonders right now is to be out there with a promotion or even just be her own independent self and just test the indies. But what she needs right now is to work on character development, like really work on it even more now than ever. And if she can really nail it down, and show what WWE and others are missing by essentially throwing the towel in on her, yeah, that will definitely make some heads turn. But I got her coming back. I got her coming back. So, do I think there's going to be a couple of more WWE releases? Yeah, yeah, I can definitely see some more happening right before. What is this, November? Um, I see some more happening right before Thanksgiving. I know that in previous years, leading up to Black Friday, like, oh no, they didn't. We see like all these names that gets released and everything. I'm not quite since TKO. It's just pretty much been to do little things here and there. I think that's going to continue to be the case for WWE TKO, but I can see a few more names being released right before Thanksgiving hits for sure. But it's not going to be a boatload. Like ain't gonna be no 8, 10, 12, 15. I don't see that happening by any stretch, y'all. One other thing we can get into before we get ready to wrap it up. Remember, we were right here on the show a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about AJ Styles and the whole TNA Hall of Fame, and we went over some ideas about, and I told you guys flat out, I said I'd be very shocked to hear WWE themselves turn down a AJ Styles TNA Hall of Fame induction as they continue to have this ongoing partnership and everything like that. Just it makes no sense to me. And I told you guys, I said, I think the only way this makes sense is if AJ Styles shot it down. And I went on record and I said to you guys, hey, maybe he just didn't want to go in. Maybe he felt, timing was off. And I also had said maybe there's still some type of resentment over how he was treated when he was in TNA. And I went over some of the stuff that he talked about in his shoot interview, but I also put a ribbon on all of that by saying, well, wait a minute. When exactly did all of that go down with AJ and TNA as far as management at the helm? Was that under Dixie Carter's watch or was that under Ed Norholm? Because, and I said, if I'm not mistaken, all that stuff with AJ, like that should have been under Dixie Carter. So it should be water under the bridge with Ed Norholm and people, was my argument. Well, now we know what's going on with AJ as he sound off about the whole TNA induction. He took to social media and he spoke on it. I'm trying to find it right now for you guys. I'm hoping that I got the screenshot here. No, and I don't have it, and I'll never have that recipe again. But I don't have the exact quote, so I'll paraphrase. But basically, AJ Styles said, nah, it doesn't feel right for me to be going into a Hall of Fame right now while I'm still an active wrestler. And as far as I know, I'm still working for WWE and all that. So no, until I get to a point in my career where I'm done, I've hung up the boots, then I'll gladly go into TNA's Hall of Fame. But until then, no, I'm still an active wrestler. That was it. That was, he kept it short and sweet. So, to hear that, it's just interesting to see how people were just really taking what was going on out of context. Oh man, that's so messed up. Like I felt there was a lot more to it and that we just needed to give it some time before AJ would finally comment. And I'm glad he did, because the narrative that was put out there, it just looked really bad. The optics did not feel or look right at all. So for AJ to jump out there and even though he didn't have to clear the air and speak the truth on it, he could have just left people guessing. It was, pretty nice and big of him to, no, this is what's going on. None more, nothing less. So and you can kind of respect that, right? You can kind of respect that. So let's go ahead and let's call it on that note. So look, be on the lookout for a poll. I'll put it up sometime Tuesday on the YouTube channel. Look under the post section. I'll pick you all's brain. Y'all can tell me whether or not you want a post show Wednesday night, for Wednesday night after AEW Dynamite and NXT goes off the air. And depending on the bulk of comments where you guys vote, that'll help me figure out whether or not we're going to do a Wednesday night post show. All right. I am definitely going to be live tweeting during election night. So get at me on X, formerly known as Twitter. And I'm probably going to be pulling a midnight run, man. I'm going to be up all night looking at the polling results. I'm looking forward to it, man. So once again, I hope you guys, if you didn't get a chance to do early voting, hopefully, you definitely have your plans set in motion where you're going to be letting your voices be heard this election day. And again, I don't care if you're Republican, Independent, Democrat, Tea Party, whatever, conservative, I don't care. Long as you get out there and vote, let your voices be heard in this election. Your voice, it definitely counts, especially now more than ever. So one thing I will say, and I think I can hear a unanimous amen and hallelujah, Lee, to what I'm about to say here, which is the one thing I am looking forward to in regards to election day is the fact that come like 7 p.m. Eastern, and when it hits p.m. on the West Coast and all that, is the fact that we'll officially be done with all these ads. I, for one, am tired of all these damn ads that's been dominating like every single commercial break, like 90% of the ads. It is just vote for it, vote. This person doesn't like babies. Blah, 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 supported this ad. Like, don't vote for them. So I'll just be glad when we have all of that out the way, and then we can focus on just the holidays and all that other loveliness, right? Shout out to everybody that supports the show. Y'all know who you are. Be kind, rewind, check out previous episodes you might have missed on demand and on the downloads, wherever you get your podcast. Just search the RCWR show. You know what to do if you enjoyed this episode, y'all. Until next go round, wishing all of y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. I will see you guys next go round. Adios, y'all, and take care.